From VTV Channel 6 Studios in downtown Vernal, this is Local Point with your host, Chris Piner.
Hello everyone and welcome to Local Point, sponsored by Ashley Regional Medical Center. I'm David Gale in for Chris Piner today. U.S. Representative Jason Chaffetz is in the basin visiting, and he has come to the VTV studios to talk with us. Now here's some interesting info that you may not know about Representative Chaffetz. While he's in Washington, D.C., he actually sleeps on a cot. Really? He also does some YouTube cot-side chats. Very interesting information. But before we get to that, let's find out why he's here. Welcome, Representative Chaffetz. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
What are you doing out in the basin?
I love coming out here, especially in the spring. We get a little warmth and sunshine. But, you know, so many valuable things are happening out here, particularly energy production. I mean, energy is one of the big pressing issues out here, and we have so many resources that we're not getting to, and so you got to hold up on permits and other things, and you want to come out firsthand and see what's happening and not happening, and see if you can't be part of the solution.
Now, obviously, a lot of the reason why there's stuff not happening is because of Secretary Salazar, right? Yeah. And tell me what happened with the latest budget that was passed that changed some of Secretary Salazar's policies that were in place.
Well, the administration, the Obama administration, got this wild hair and said, hey, we're going to come up with these wild lands. They're going to create this new definition to try to lock up the land. And there are a lot of us, myself, Rob Bishop, others who said, no, time out. You are not going to just unilaterally come up with some new designation. And so we actually put into legislation that says you cannot allocate money for anything that's going to enforce wildlands. So I'm glad that the House of Representatives did that. It was the right move. I think the administration was overstepping and trying to create a new designation that was not warranted and certainly had not gone through the United States Congress.
So what happens next then? I mean, as far as all of these permits that were in place or that were in the progress of being done and suddenly stopped, what happens to them?
Well, look, on the wildlands, we'll have to continue to battle the Obama administration to make sure that they are actually living under the laws of the United States of America, not just making up some new rule that has the effect of law. As far as accelerating the permits, I mean, this is a daily battle to try to get them to allocate the resources and speed up the process. And then when we do go through these lengthy processes and these companies are paying the money and doing all the environmental impact studies and everything else, then we get to the finish line that they can actually then go and produce. And because the production, not only do we need for national security purposes and the fact that we're using and consuming this, and this is how we help grow our economy, but these are some of the best jobs in our state. So it's a combination of a need for within our own state and within our own country, and they produce great jobs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously that's one major concern that you have with the administration right now. Are you on break right now from Congress? I mean, when do you convene again?
Well, they have district work periods that allows us to get out and really kind of kick the tires and see what's happening in our own states. And so we go right back the very last week, back into the first week of May, and get back after it.
And so when you go back, what are you going to be doing, hitting the ground running? What are the most important concerns that you have right now?
Well, one of the biggest concerns I have is the debt and the deficit. I mean, look, Washington, D.C. is a mess. It's an absolute disaster right now. We're $14 trillion in debt, and there doesn't seem to be any end to the spending. So I'm one that believes that we are taxing, spending, and borrowing too much money, that we have a spending problem in this country. We've got to stop spending money we don't have. We can't keep putting money on a credit card that is overmaxed, and we can't just keep extending the debt of the United States of America. So that's the big issue going forward.
Right, and I'm assuming that you, all things are the way they are now, would probably vote against raising the debt
ceiling? Yeah, no, there are a lot of people who say, oh, well, just raise the debt ceiling. That's the way we've always done it. No, I'm not just going to unilaterally raise the debt ceiling until we make some systemic changes that are going to actually start to bring that debt and the deficit into a controllable manner. Now, the House Republicans, and on the Budget Committee, of which I'm on, with Paul Ryan, we introduced a budget that over the course of time not only balances the budget but pays off the debt, contrasted to the President, who introduced a budget that doubles and triples the debt. So there's a huge gulf, a huge change, a huge difference between our two budgets, and that'll be the big fight moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to ask you a couple more questions about that, but we got to wrap up just for a second. So after this brief message from Ashley Regional Medical Center, Representative Chaffetz will answer a few more of our questions, including, of course, what's the deal with the cot? I'm very interested about that. So stay with us. Be right back.
Ashley Regional Medical Center now offers neonatal services and a Level 2 nursery, along with our quality obstetrical services. The Level 2 nursery provides state-of-the-art monitoring and clinical care for infants at 32 weeks and older. The team of skilled nurses, pediatricians, and family practice physicians, along with Medical Director Dr. Daniel Kwok, neonatologist, help Ashley Regional Medical Center offer your infant excellent care right here at home.
Welcome back. Thanks again for joining us. Representative Jason Chaffetz is here answering a few questions, and we left off with talking about budget issues and the budget debt ceiling and whether or not that's actually going to be raised based off of votes from Congress. You're against it. Tell me, why is it such a big deal if we raise the budget debt ceiling again? I mean, we've done it over and over and over again, so what's the big deal?
I think this is probably the single greatest threat to our future in the United States of America. Because if we're not able to continue to sell debt, guess what? Then the Chinese or the Japanese or somebody else become in control of our financial future. And as we sell more debt into the marketplace, if somebody's not there to buy it, guess what? They raise interest rates. Well, as you raise interest rates, what's going to happen? I mean, the average person, I don't care who you are, you're going to be affected by that. Everything from house payments and car payments to what your groceries cost, all of that is affected by that. At the same time, our federal government has spent so much money that we're about to see some hyperinflation. And that's one of the most cruel things you can do, particularly to people that are on fixed incomes, because as inflation jumps up, look at the price of gasoline and how that affects people's households. Well, what happens when your cereal and your carrots and everything else goes up and you're still making the same amount of money? It's worth less. And that's the predicament that we put ourselves into. We can't keep spending money that we don't have.
Yeah. I mean, because you and I, we can't spend money that we don't have. Why can the government?
And when the government continues to just print the money, then you have inflation. When you have inflation, then your money's worth less, and that's the last thing we want in such a difficult economy where people are struggling to get jobs.
Yeah. And speaking of how we spend money, obviously we're spending a lot of money right now militarily. We're in a situation with Libya right now where we're on the verge of doing more or doing less. What's your opinion about that?
I really disagree with the president on this. I do not believe we should be injecting ourselves into what is a civil war in North Africa. If there is not a clear and present danger to the United States of America, I do not believe we should be using the military the way that we are. If you're going to use your military, you go with everything. You go with everything. That's not what this president is doing.
Right.
And the other thing that I was offended when the president stood before the world and said that he got authorization from the United Nations in order to inject ourselves in the war. No, Mr. President, you get your authorization from the American people. You get it from the United States Congress. You don't get it from the United Nations. So I do not think we should be in Libya. I think we should actually extract ourselves out of Afghanistan. If we're going to be in Afghanistan, then go with everything. Right now, we're fighting this politically correct war with no definition of what success is. And consequently, we're struggling. And we're the United States of America. No, you go with everything, you win.
Right. How do your fellow Republicans think about that?
I'm a little bit of an outlier with my Republicans. I think a lot of politicians, they don't want to be viewed as soft on terror. They don't want to have some vote out there and makes them look like, well, I think this is a very conservative position. I think it is the right thing to do, and it says, if you use your military, you go with everything. And if not, then you pull back. And I just think we're charting a course in Afghanistan and Libya where we really shouldn't be. And I think there are serious threats out there. Terrorism is a global threat. It's real. When we have actionable intelligence, take it. I'm not afraid of pulling the trigger, but we've been in Afghanistan for more than 10 years now. And so, anyway.
Well, let's jump over to something interesting, because I told the audience that we would get to the cot. What is the situation with the cot? You actually sleep on a cot.
I do.
So why and how did that come to be?
Look, my wife and I, we got 3 kids. We live in Alpine. That's home. And that's the point. When I started to figure out, once I won, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm actually going to go to Congress, had to figure out what the living arrangements are going to be. And you get a very handsome salary as a member of Congress. Well, I talked to other members, and there are about 30 or so plus people who decided that in order to save money for their families, they would just sleep on a cot or sleep on something in their office. You work harder, you work later, you don't have to have a commute. It just made a lot of sense. So I'm
so
trying
you
to
sleep in your office?
Yeah, I have a little closet, and I just kind of set up this cot in the office. And I do shower on a daily basis. Like, there's a house gym, and I pay a fee for, and I pay a fee to do that, and I go down and take a shower. Somebody said to my wife, well, Jason, you know, that can't be too comfortable. My wife, Julie, she said, well, I don't want them to be too comfortable.
You're not at home. Why should you be?
The point, it's actually become very symbolic and very important to me. Serving in Congress is a temporary duty and responsibility. It's a great opportunity. But you're not there to get comfortable. I have no intention of moving my family there. Get in, serve, get out, do what you're supposed to do, and represent Utah to Washington, not Washington to Utah. And that COD has become really symbolic to me that it is uncomfortable. But work as late into the night as you can. Get up at the crack of dawn, keep working, and then get home. So
take your break when the break is available.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you. We're out of time. Really appreciate you coming in. Representative Jason Chaffetz once again. Thank you for joining us as well. We hope to see you again right here on the next edition of Local Point.